Hi, guys. Thank you for being here. Debbie Henderson, welcome. She's wondering if this is where you post a question. And yes, it is. Yeah, I'm looking at the thread over here. And I'll get through these questions and then we can chat about anything else you guys want to, or, like always. So anyway, Debbie says, I have vaginal atrophy from menopause and I need to find something for relief. 15 years ago, I had a hysterectomy and cancer was found in my ovaries. So I'd really prefer not to use the estradiol cream that the doctor suggested unless there's nothing else. Let's see here, ideas or suggestions are appreciated. Yeah, that's gosh, again, like when we start talking about like normal aging processes, well, our vaginas are affected too. There's the neck, there's the hair, there's the, all the things, right? and then there's our reproductive system is completely different, as we know. So some suggestions are, I would say there are creams you can use. In fact, my mother actually showed me one that a friend of hers shared with her recently, and I have it in my bathroom. I can go get it and share it with you. I think I've used it once in like the last couple of years and never really thought about it ever again, but I probably should. But evidently, my mom said that her friend said that it caused her to start growing more pubic hair. Honestly, diet, exercise. I have heard that remaining sexually active can help. And if you have to use a lubricant, then it's something natural. Don't get the stuff from the store that contains all the garbage chemicals. It's going on your in an area that's full of mucous membranes, and your mucous membranes soak everything up. So you just need to be really, really careful with that. And I would also suggest herbs that support the hormones. So like red clover is always really good. Soy products are good, but please get non-GMO. Flaxseed is really helpful. But what I would suggest those things, and I will get that cream and I'll just put it in the group. We kind of have to embrace it, but do what we can, to help feel better about it. And then I would also say vitamins. Oh, and one other thing you can do that I would suggest for this kind of thing is yoga, because yoga poses will help strengthen the pelvic floor. In fact, when you, what is it called? There's the, oh my gosh, my brain, now I have menopause brain. Do you have something called, is it mudras? Anyway, bandhas is what they're called. It's when you tighten, there's 3 different areas in your body that you can tighten. One's in the throat, one is in your belly button area, and one is the pelvic floor. So when you're working through different yoga exercises, you're actually pulling up on your pelvic floor, and that can be really, really helpful too for, different issues going on with the vaginal area and the, atrophy and things. And then vitamins, we just need to stay as healthy as possible, and vitamins, exercise, all those good things, plus the herbs I mentioned can be really helpful. Debbie says the pain is horrible and I bleed when we have sex. Yes. And what happens is as our estrogen levels go down, the walls of our vaginas thin out. And so you've got thinner tissue in there, and that's what causes the bleeding too. And it's just a factor of age, So I would suggest a lot of natural lubricant, and I love calendula oil. That's what I would recommend to. My mom was a person I recommended it to for a long time, and others. But calendula is a really strong vulnerary herb, so it's healing. It's healing as well as being lubricating, depending on the oil that you use. And I would suggest just olive oil, something, very soothing and natural. Okay. Kelly says, does lamb's quarter have medicinal uses or is it strictly nutritional? Do any of you dehydrate herbs and greens for a super greens powder? Would you use, suggest, or recommend not to use evening primrose for hot flashes? Oh, that's a separate question. Okay, I'll do the first one first. So lamb's quarter is a great wild edible that grows in most areas, really. It even grows down in southern Nevada, not down in Las Vegas where it's super hot in the desert, but it grows in the mountains. And the leaves are very similar to spinach in terms of how they taste, although I would say they're higher in mineral content. They kind of really have a salty flavor that you can actually taste. And you steam them just like you do spinach. I wouldn't eat them green or raw. The reason is that they are really, really high in oxalates. And oxalates are well tolerated by many people. However, some people, and I'm one of them, tend to not do real well with them. And I've even gotten kidney stones from eating too much spinach before. And so knowing that lamb's quarters is even higher in oxalates, I tend to only eat it if, I have a little urge or something, or if it's growing around, but it's not part of a regular diet for me. And actually spinach, I'm seriously really careful with too. When you cook those herbs, when you steam lamb's quarters or spinach or others that are high in oxalates, it does break down the oxalates somewhat, but you're still going to get high levels of them in your system. So they can still have an effect. But, I think you have to eat a lot of that stuff to have it really affect you for most people. I mean, back in the day when I got the kidney stone, I was it's still teaching and everything, but boy, I had my morning smoothie filled with 2 cups of spinach, and then I ate a spinach salad at lunch, and I love spinach, and then I would eat it at dinner, and I ate it several times a week, and so I was just like the spinach queen, and yeah, it wasn't good for my kidneys. So and that was a great lesson in all things in moderation, even good things. And then Kelly says, so should they be cooked before dehydrating for a greens powder? No, I wouldn't. I would just go ahead and dehydrate them. Even when you dehydrate them, you're processing them to an extent to where you're going to break down those oxalates somewhat too. But I would say for super greens, any of the high mineral herbs like dandelion leaf, nettle leaf is really good. Plantain would be helpful. Those would make really wonderful super greens. And if you've got wild violets growing, grab those leaves. They are really high in calcium, higher than nettle, as a matter of fact. And I'm pretty sure higher than spinach too. So violet leaves are great. And again, I wouldn't recommend, I don't really have any I wouldn't recommend, except I would just watch out for the oxalates. Be aware of that. And I don't know how you would test to see if they're affecting your body or not. When I got that kidney stone, it was a complete surprise. Like it was, oh my goodness, I thought I was dying. It was worse than labor pains. And it was sudden onset. There was no warning at all. All of a sudden I had blood in my urine and a high temperature, and I was doubled over in pain. I mean, it was just really bad. So never want to go through that again. But once you've had one, then you can kind of identify what's causing it. Is it too much salt? For me, it was the spinach. I'm 100% certain. Well, I should say 90% certain. The doctors never did tell me what caused it, but I'm assuming I did a lot of research after that. and I feel like that was the only thing I can think of. They don't even run in my family, so I'm blaming it on the spinach. But And then Kelly says, evening primrose for hot flashes and menopause. Does it work? And how should it be prepared? I've honestly never used it. I've heard it works really well, though. You can buy it. What I would suggest is if you want to take it internally, buy it in supplement form, because you're going to have a standardized amount to use. Okay. And then you can actually determine if it works or not. And then you can buy the carrier oil too, and you can use that on your skin. It will have some mild effects even topically, or should have anyway. We're all different, but definitely, if you're going to use that internally, I'd suggest starting with the supplement first. All right, and then shepherd's purse and purple mustard. I'm going to say right up front, I would probably need, I just do. I would need the Latin name for the purple mustard because I don't know. But on the shepherd's purse, that's a wild plant that is really helpful. And honestly, it supports low blood pressure. So for a person like me who is managing high blood pressure, I would opt to not use that one. So this is just something to kind of know. But for a lot of people, it could be helpful. It's really a great a styptic herb or a hemostat. I don't think it's, in my opinion, I would prefer to use yarrow, but shepherd's purse is really helpful if you've got a bleeding in the field or something like that. And then taken internally, it can help with heavy menstrual periods. So if you are helping somebody who has a heavy flow and they just need some relief, try a little shepherd's purse because it can be really helpful. It's one of those plants that can help be a laxative and also an anti-diarrheal. In that regard, it's sort of a bit of an alternative, but yeah, I don't use it much, honestly, just because there's other things that grow around here that I would use instead. Another thing it can be good for, though, is wounds. It does have some mild antibacterial qualities, so you could use it like you would plantain, okay? Oh, Nancy says, I'm wondering if you're talking about a perennial called lamb's ear. No, lamb's ear and lamb's quarters are two different things. Lamb's quarters can grow to be 5 or 6 feet tall, and they have kind of irregular shaped leaves. They're easy to identify once you know what they look like. One year in Cold Creek down in southern Nevada, we had this mystery plant start growing everywhere. And I was looking at this going, what on earth is it? And then I got a positive identification for lamb's quarters. And that's when we actually did experiment with eating it fairly often throughout that summer. And then the next summer, it didn't come back. So I, think about that time and I always wonder, gosh, was there some reason why, it was growing there? Like that, did we need it for anything? Kelly says, my massage therapist said refrigerated liquid works. Refrigerated liquid. Oh, are you talking about for the vaginal atrophy, or are you talking about in terms of the evening primrose oil? Well, Kelly, evening primrose. Okay. Well, give that a shot. The coolness on your skin, if you're thinking topically, would feel really good too. Linda says, Kelly, I dehydrate dandelion greens, parsley, kale, nasturtium, and celery tops from my yard and garden to add to my breakfast smoothies over the non-growing season. That's a great idea. Spring through fall, I use stuff I pick fresh every morning. Yeah, and we just keep nettle leaf available, the powder. But right now, I don't have any powdered, but yeah, you can use any of those wonderful greens, right? That are such high in nutritious value. Carolyn said, I found a good amount of lamb's quarters growing in my compost, so I harvested as much as I could. I understand it is similar to spinach, yep, but better for you and without the oxalic acid. It still is high in the oxalates. Just check into that. But what I did was harvest and froze quart bags. Oh, good idea. Didn't bother to wash them. So whenever I want spinach, I grab a sack of my lamb's quarters. I'm hoping to find more lamb's quarters this year with fingers crossed. Seriously, with food the way it is right now, you know, if you have it growing around you, it would be really a good idea to do what Carolyn's doing and freeze it and just have it available. Robin says, I have a question about nutmeg essential oil, and I got this new one. I don't know if my phone will spell it, Velator. Oh, I'm not sure on the spelling, but what can I use them? What can I use them with making like a roller bottle? Okay, so vetiver and nutmeg they're both great. First of all, both of them are calming and soothing. Vetiver is more sedating than nutmeg is, but the nutmeg essential oil can, like if you just take a whiff of it during the day, it calms stress levels. It can immediately calm your mind. And I just really love nutmeg for that reason. It's very warming. And I'm not sure about this. I think it has a topical skin maximum that's a little bit low, and maybe Stephanie, you might know that. I don't know offhand off the top of my head. But it's very anti-inflammatory, and I love using it in conjunction with like ginger or clove or some of those other anti-inflammatory oils. So that's, it kind of depends, like I always tell you guys, you have to set your intention for your roller bottle or your inhaler or your spray or whatever it is you're making. So decide what it's for, decide what you need, and then you can formulate, using your formulation triangle with your active oils, your supporting oils, and your synergizers, and you can create something really wonderful. So it really all boils down to that intention. But nutmeg is just beautiful in a lot of different ways. And vetiver is too. Vetiver is often used in the perfume industry because it smells so good. It's a base note, I believe. Yeah, I knew it was low. Stephanie just checked, and it's a maximum dilution of 0.08%. So therefore, you don't want to use very much of it for sure. Definitely less than 1% in any kind of a blend. So good to know on that one. And but yeah, with vetiver, it's kind of a, thank you, Stephanie, very much. It's kind of a dark, smoky, earthy smell, and I really like it. But those are two good oils. Okay, and then Raman says, can you share information on the herb mugwort? Mugwort is the dreaming herb, you guys. Mugwort, it's a it's a species of Artemisia. It's in the Artemisia genus, and it's related to wormwood. So it's not as strong as wormwood, but it still has anti-parasitic qualities. It can be useful for I don't know, repelling insects, even like lice and things like that. It can be helpful for, but mostly it's been used to help with people with sleep. It's not a strong sedative like valerian or skullcap or passion flower, but it does relax you. But the problem with taking it before you go to sleep is that it is it's almost a psychoactive kind of an herb. It causes really colorful dreams, and it causes I don't know, it like releases creativity in your mind while you're sleeping. And so people often report that they'll wake up and they will have had these crazy, wild, colorful dreams. And then if you're part of the new age crowd or the woo-woo group, you might use those dreams to guide you in your decision making. So anyway, that's what it is. Basically, it's really nice, and it's a good digestive. So if you have a stomach upset and you have mugwort growing around, you could use it as a digestive. Although, gosh, there are so many other herbs that are carminative that are helpful, like ginger and fennel and like the food type herbs, that I would go for those first. And it also is a very strong emmenagogue. It's not good for pregnant women or nursing women. It shouldn't be used by them because it stimulates the uterus, and it can bring on, could bring on contractions. It does stimulate menstruation. So if you have a late period, or if you want to get it over with faster, you can take a little bit and it will increase your flow or stimulate a flow to start. So it's pretty, I mean, it's an interesting plant. It's been used for women's issues for many, many, many years. In fact, it's also, I think one of the common names is Crohn's wort or something. So it can be helpful for hot flashes, but I don't think it's as helpful as black cohosh or sage. So yeah, do a little research into it, but it's a really unique herb for sure. And then Robin says, I have another question. The elderflower, I have taken some from the tree, but it is not a bad. My question is this: to make the elderberry syrup, would it be better to put the elderflower in alcohol and let it, for me like that, and then put that product in the syrup? You know, honestly, if I were going to make an elderflower syrup, if I were going to use elderflower and I wanted it in a sweet form, I'd be more likely to use it as a glycerite. It would last longer, and it's going to have that sweet flavor, but it's going to be well preserved. But if you want to make elderflower syrup, then what you would do is make a very, very strong herbal tea, and I'd let it steep for hours or overnight, and then just follow the process for a syrup. Strain off the plant matter in the liquid, and then you would want to reduce it down to an amount that you feel good about. So maybe like a cup of liquid or a half a cup of liquid of the tea, and then go ahead and add an equal amount of your cane sugar or your honey. That will make it shelf stable. But if you're a person like me and you don't want a lot of sugar, then just cut back on the sugar and refrigerate it. But that's what I would do for that. Let's see. I'm going to pop over here with just make sure I'm not missing any questions here or comments.
Heidi, I have a question. I tried to enter it in the chat, but for some reason it just didn't go in.
Okay.
I was reading in the Astragulas roots book about the immune boosting tincture, and it calls for nettle. And I didn't know what part nettle played in that recipe, because it was my understanding that nettle loses its benefits when it's tinctured.
You know, in it can. What the part that's going to be lost in nettle tincture is the minerals. Okay, but the other qualities of the nettle will still be there, especially like the antihistamine qualities. If you're using Astragulas as an immune booster, and you think about like allergies, a lot of times our allergies, well, let me just say, our immune system is part of the foundational support that our body has for any allergy. So if we can, combine certain herbs to help boost the immune system, or to help it, deal with an allergic situation better. So that's probably why. And I probably should look at that recipe. I don't remember all my recipes, because I didn't even know I had as many as I had until Jessica did the index. No wonder I don't remember anything.
Well, it has nettle root, burdock root, astragalus, cinnamon bark chips, and ginger root chips.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a really good one.
If you don't say so yourself. Thank you.
I'm sorry. You're welcome, Donna. I'm going to make a note to look at that, and I'll give you a better answer on. All right, Astragalus book.
It's on page 24.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I used to feel bad about not remembering anything, and then Jessica showed me the index, and I'm like,
well, I feel bad about not being able to find them sometimes, but if you can't remember them, I'm okay. Thank you.
That index will be out pretty soon. I'm working on the technology of getting it in. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Kenise says, I feel the need to share our experience from having an herbal closet and from taking a Ditch the Drugstore in the tribe. My husband broke out in hives. We don't know from what. And I ran for the Benadryl, but we don't have any. I calmed myself down and found my plantain salve from Heidi's Ditch the Drugstore recipes and applied it to the rash. Then I made us a nice strong cup of vitamin tea, which contains nettle. Nice work. The salve calmed the itching, and within a few hours, the rash was gone. He was amazed. I'm gaining so much confidence now. Thank you for being such a wonderful teacher to all of us. I can't wait to keep learning more. Kenise, what a win. This is awesome. That's great. And isn't it fun when things work like that? And it's like, yeah, who needs the drugstore when we've got these things at our fingertips? Not to say that you might not ever need the drugstore. And I'll be honest, we used to keep Benadryl around for that reason, because of a potential anaphylactic reaction, because it's just handy to have around, even after we didn't, take anything from the drugstore or prescription meds. But when my daughter was here living with us before she went off to medical school, she was bound and determined to find over-the-counter drugs closeted away somewhere. So she cleaned out, she didn't believe me. So she cleaned out my cupboards, and I heard her say, ha, and she's like holding up this box of Benadryl, unopened, by the way. And I said, Haley, I said, yeah, we keep that on hand, but I'm just curious, what is the date on that? I don't even remember the last time I bought it. It was like 5 years, 5 years out of date. I said, there you go. It's the only thing she found. I thought that was pretty funny. I was very glad to have cleaned out cupboards. But yeah, she was on a mission. But
Heidi, I have a correction
gave
to
me a
make.
lot of confidence.
yes, yeah, when you start using the plants and they work, yes, your confidence just skyrockets. The essential oils, the herbs, when you just, and the more you work with them, the more you're going to develop that intuition and just know what to reach for, like you did. It's just kind of automatic. But anyway, Donna,
Well, and to have it
what's that?
and to have it ready.
Yes.
I mean, I've been making all of this stuff, and it's just, the willow bark works, and I love the mullein and the marshmallow stuff, but to just have kind of like a mini emergency like that, and it was just ready.
Yeah. Yep. I've had that happen more times than I can even count. And just, having your salves ready to go, having your stuff, the stuff that you need.
And I want you to know that you're not too expensive.
Oh, thank you. Was that from the talk this morning? Yeah.
You're just wonderful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Donna, what were you going to say?
I just want to mention I misspoke on the immune boosting tincture that had the nettle. It was echinacea, astragulas, nettle, and ginger root. The other one I was looking at was the astragulas and liver supporting.
Oh, okay. Well, then I can explain the nettle and the liver supporting. It does support the liver wonderfully. Usually it's going to be the nettle root. And I don't know if I specified the leaf or the root, but
you said root.
Yeah, the root is much better for the liver than the leaves are. The leaves are more specific to kidney support. So
but in the immune tincture, which has the echinacea, astragalus, nettle, and ginger root, what part would nettle play in that?
Just a tonic, supportive, just what I just told you about with the immune helper. And your immune system, especially, well, again, back to the allergies, if your body is fighting an allergic response, nettle is really wonderful if you're using it, especially over time, to help with those kinds of situations. But yeah, but it
was my understanding that you should not take echinacea over time, that you should only use it when a problem occurs.
Yes, yes. And actually, I think when I wrote the Astragulas book, I can't remember when I wrote that. I don't know.
You need to date your books.
Date my books, because if it was written a while back, it might have been before I had done the research on not, taking it constantly. But a lot of people do take it constantly. After reading research on it, I don't think you should. So if you want a plant instead to use in there, and you know what, I'm going to make a note because I should probably go ahead and look at that and maybe change that recipe. I would suggest elderberry instead.
Elderberry, not the flower.
No, the berry. Yeah.
Okay. Because it calls for 3 parts of echinacea, 2 parts of astragalus, 1 part of nettle, and 1 part ginger.
It's a good formula.
Just not all the time.
No, that's when I would definitely take at the onset of a sickness, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, if you start feeling under the weather, that would be a fine one to take. If you want to take something over time, sub out the echinacea for elderberry.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see here. Debbie says, is there a way to make my own daily anti-inflammatory supplement? Right now I'm using something called turmeric curcumin extra strength. It is quite expensive, and I'm wondering if there's a way to make my own blend and save some money. I take it for mild but chronic aches and pains. So Debbie, I would just suggest turmeric and black pepper. Just keep it simple. Those 2 herbs together are fabulous. I like to recommend a 1 part of black pepper to 3 parts of turmeric. Okay, so out of like a 4-part total, you're going to have 25% black pepper. But what it is the piperine in the black pepper helps the curcumin and the turmeric be more bioavailable. But I've had good feedback from that blend. And you know what? You can just create a little spice jar of that, get it into your food, but try to take, I'd say between a teaspoon and a tablespoon a day, just throughout the day. In food.
So you mean like dry the turmeric and grind it down with the black peppercorns or something like that, 4 to 1, and then put it in food or take it in capsules or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you could do all that as far as like using the fresh plants and grinding it, or you can just buy the powders yourself, and you can buy really, really fine black pepper that's just the turmeric powder. That probably would be easier.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Minette says, I quick infused my geranium leaves and flowers in oil the fast way today. Plan on making soap tomorrow. Using geranium essential oil to send any suggestions on what other essential oils to mix with the geranium essential oil. I like the spices. Stephanie, you could help me out with this one. What do you like with geranium? But I love like cinnamon overtones with it. It tends to kind of soften it. So if you're going for a scent, that's what I would suggest. And then maybe a little patchouli. I don't know if you've got ylang ylang, but those would all be really nice together, I think. Yeah, when I'm working with florals, I smell the floral, and here's I kind of just think about what would go with it if I'm thinking of a perfume. And you're supposed to be thinking about base notes, mid notes, and the top notes. And I know like geranium, I'm pretty sure it's probably a middle base. It's kind of in between the two. It's pretty heavy. So I would think about what are the lighter notes? What do you want people to smell when they first smell your soap? So it could even be like lemon, or it could be, like one of the citruses, bergamot, perhaps. And then on the base note, that would be something heavier. So and I'm not suggesting vetiver, but it immediately comes to mind because we were just talking about it. But it probably would smell kind of pretty. Another thing you can do is if you've got your essential oils, I just take off the caps, put the caps in your hand, and then just smell them just around like this. And you can get an idea for what it's going to smell like together. And then you just adjust your drops. But yeah, I wish I had more experience with the perfumery, but it's more therapeutic. So
Thank you.
yeah, anything that comes out smelling really super wonderful is often an accident. So, all right. Here we go. Kelly said, oh, let's see. I'm going to back up here a little bit, you guys. I think I missed some things. Jen says my interest in natural living actually started with my difficulties in nursing. The pediatrician told me my son was allergic to my milk. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Boy, I bet that was, must have been difficult. Kelly says, do they put mugwort in pharmaceutical pain meds? After my emergency surgery, they gave me something horrible, personal, devastating dreams. Oh no, I'm sorry. I don't know. They could. Big pharma uses plants. They just don't want us to know that they do.
Do you know what they gave you when you were in the hospital? I don't remember who posted the question.
It was Kelly. Yeah.
I know because I've had 12 major surgeries. So I know that Dilaudid have a tendency to really intensify your dreams, and morphine. Dilaudid is a morphine base, but those two have a tendency to really make you dream really crazy.
That's what it was. Wow.
So Dilaudid gave me auditory hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Wow.
They gave it to me for a kidney stone.
Oh my God. They wanted to give that to me on a daily basis to manage my pain before I decided to have surgery. That's what led me to start looking into natural things. They weren't helping me.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. Especially if you have to take it over time. I've known old vets that have been on morphine for years, and they're addicted to it. They can't get off. But I didn't realize about the dreaming. Kelly says we keep Benadryl in all of our vehicles in case of rattlesnake bites. It gives you time to get to the hospital. Yeah. Would there be a strong herbal equivalent? Anything that's got antihistamine qualities would be helpful. So I would just say the plantain would be the best thing. If you've got that, if you've got, the salve or an ointment, or if you are around plantain, get a quick spit poultice together. But really, this is one of those cases where, I don't recommend taking it over the counter, but if you need to, and if you have to get to the hospital, then Benadryl is a good option. I have to say that's probably the only one that Joe and I would ever keep in the house just in case, because you never know. I mean, if you're dealing with an anaphylactic situation or with a dangerous poisonous snake bite, you don't want to mess with that. That's a case where you immediately head to the hospital and get some medical treatment. So, and I think this is where when we start using herbs, and you guys have heard me say over and over, we haven't used anything in 10 years, and it's true, but I'm not saying I never would. If it were something happened and it was the smart thing to do to go to the doctor, then definitely you need to go. Like when Joe's leg recently, he had that weird thing with his left calf, and it was, swelling up and then going down and then swelling up and then going down. When you start doing the research on that and you look at what it might be, and then you get, a positive potential agreement from a physician online, which is what we did. We went to one of those online doctors and he looked at it and he said it could be a deep vein thrombosis. And I'm like, yep, we're going to the hospital. We're going to head down to the clinic and we're going to get a test done and get a diagnostic, and then we can make decisions. And luckily, the test he took indicated that it wasn't that, but I'm honestly still not too sure. We didn't get the ultrasound. He just got a blood test, but it was just really strange, but it seems to have gone away. So we'll just, but yeah. Debbie says, last night I had an itchy episode after eating nuts. I went ahead and took an over-the-counter antihistamine. What would have been the best herbal for me to take to help myself right away? I couldn't use anything topical because the itch was inside my ears. Oh boy. You know what? If it were me, I probably would have started downing the nettle immediately, or taken something as a mild sedative just to get me to relax. Often if we can just relax our bodies kick in and go to work to help fight off things like that or issues like that. And then once you know that you have an allergic reaction to something, definitely just stay away from it. That's the best thing to do. Unfortunately, our bodies change over time, and a lot of us could eat things when we were children and we can't eat them now. So we just need to stay in touch with what we're sensitive to and what we're not sensitive to. Stephanie says, I love the immune boosting tincture. Oh, good. Yeah, which one? There are so many, right? Sorry, you guys. I should just narrow everything down to just one of each thing. No, I'm just joking. Stephanie says, I take it when I start to feel something coming on and when I think I have been exposed to something or when I'm feeling really tired. Yes, it is the Ditch the Drugstore immune boosting tincture. I can't remember what it is. I'll have to go look at that one too. I wonder if it's the one Donna was talking about. Kelly says, I have turmeric, ginger, and black pepper tincturing right now. Ooh, that sounds really good. Yeah, ginger is such a nice addition to all kinds of things. Oh, and she says it was hydrocodone and Percocet. Morphine didn't bother me. Yeah, I don't know. Those pain meds that they give you in the hospital, they always make me just feel sick. And, and I don't know a person who doesn't have some kind of a reaction to them. Denise says, any recommendations for healthy teeth and gums? So I have a couple tooth powder recipes, and I really love to use myrrh. Myrrh gum powder is one of my favorite things to use in those recipes. And then I also like yarrow. Yarrow has an affinity for your mouth and the health of your mucous membranes because it's like tightening. Sage is really good. So any of those powders can be combined together to make a tooth powder. And then I have a couple of mouthwash recipes too. And I actually made one recently that I haven't even shared with you guys. I probably should. It turned out very nice. I've got to dig through my journals and see if I can find it and cross my fingers that I even just wrote it down. But it does contain sage and it contains yarrow and other things tinctured. And then I decided that I would go ahead and put in some essential oils as well. So it's got golden seal, it's got golden seal herb in it is what it's got. And then it's got yarrow essential oil and another essential oil that's good for the mouth. And I think I was using frankincense and or myrrh. I've got to find that recipe, but I'm really liking it. I shake it up really good to disperse the essential oils and then just take a little bit in my mouth, put in some water and swish it around really good, do a gargle, and it's really nice too. And I like to use it after I floss because if you have sensitive gums, then basically, and you're bleeding a lot, it's really helpful for bleeding gums and things like that too. Kelly says, how do you cover up the dirty flavor of sage? Oh no, I can't get my guys to tolerate it. Well, you could just leave it out and go for some other astringent herb. Unfortunately, when a lot of people, guys, this is the standard American diet has ruined our taste buds, basically. We're all used to so much salt and so much sugar, like those of us who eat the regular food out there in the world. And it's like, I am convinced that people have messed up taste buds. They don't even know what tastes good anymore or what is a healthy taste. And when we taste the plants, and you taste sage and you are not addicted to all the salt, sugar, preservatives, additives, high fructose corn syrup, all the just garbage. If you can develop like a pure taste thing in your mouth and get your taste buds back to normal, all of a sudden sage tastes amazing. And these herbs that a lot of people really dislike, they start tasting actually good. And especially if our bodies need them, our bodies crave certain things, and we can sense that. So, bye, Stephanie. Thanks for coming. Oh, good. Denise says, I'm 4 days of no sugar. Awesome. Kelly says, I love sage in foods, but they cannot stand it in the tooth powder. You could remind them that it's just a temporary, momentary thing, and it'll be rinsed out really fast. Taste is important and compliance is important. You have to decide, like, how hard do you want to talk somebody into using the herbal things, and how forceful do you want to be, if you even can be. If it's an adult or a teenage child, they've got a mind of their own. They're not necessarily going to be, doing what you say anymore, but Kelly says, I started too late. Son is 16, might be able to knock hubby upside the head enough, but not my son. Yeah, the kids are hard. The teenage kids are hard. You really have to talk them into it. Maybe have him do a little research project on the ingredients in toothpaste. Have him look into the negative side effects of fluoride. So, have him check into what hormone disruptors do to young men over time. I'm dead serious about that. Have him do a little research on it. Ask if he wants man boobs. So I don't know. The first time I ran across a man with hormonal issues was in the gym many years ago. I was in my early 30s, and he was an older man, and we were chatting, and he told me that he had breast cancer. And I was like, what? How would a male get breast cancer? Well, if there's breast tissue, which is a hormonal imbalance for men, it is definitely possible. And I hear the incidences of that are going up and have gone up since then. So this was, back in the 90s, and here we are in 2022, and, our world has changed. So it's it's a brave new world, right? So anyway, well, does anybody have any other questions or comments or anything else? Okay. Oh, Jen says, and yet I've heard people blame it on lavender. Seriously? Really? I mean, for real?
Yeah, I guess there were studies that have since been discredited, but that lavender is a hormone disruptor, and that there was some boys that were developing breasts because their mom bathed them in lavender, I don't know, bath products or something like that. So, I mean, it's since been debunked, but it's like, for some reason, those bad studies always stick in people's minds. And the good ones, the quality scientific research that's done just doesn't ever get out there. And I'm sorry, because I'm going to go on a rant. So
you go right ahead, girl. You go, girl. No, I know that, no, you're absolutely right about that. It's like the comfrey study, which was very, very flawed. But yet there are pyrrolizidine alkaloids in comfrey. So we know to be careful, but should you not ever use it internally? No, I recommend it to people. And yeah, the same thing with all of these. I think Big Pharma is desperate to scare people away from using natural plants, natural plant preparations. And that includes essential oils. They are massively frightened of it because, I mean, look what we can do with ourselves. Most things we can handle, and we can slowly heal our bodies. We support our bodies, I should say, in healing itself over time. And that's what herbalism is all about. They don't want that. They don't want an America full of healthy, well people. So they want us all sick, and they want us on drugs, and they want us paying for it. And then paying for more drugs, because of the side effects of the first drug. And then you feel sick on top of it. It's, and I'm definitely not, well, yes, I am anti-drug. Absolutely. I can't say that I'm not. But if you have to take a medicine, you have to take it. That's why I just want to make clear, I'm not saying don't take meds, but you guys have heard me on this topic so many times now that, let's see, Kelly says, other astringent herbs. Was this for yes. Kelly, see how they do with myrrh gum powder. It doesn't really have a strong flavor, and it's wonderful for your gums. Okay, so try that one. Let's see. I don't know. I just love sage. Sage is just so good. And yarrow, maybe try some yarrow, although yarrow is really bitter. So, he may not like that one either. And I don't know if you're trying essential oils in your tooth powder, but try some maybe some essential oils that he likes, like peppermint or orange, or some of a flavor, a scent that with a flavor profile. And you're not going to taste it, but here's the thing: the way our taste buds work in our olfactory bulb, when we smell something, we tend to think we're tasting it too. So that might be helpful. But actually, if it's going in his mouth, he is tasting it. So there you go. And if it's peppermint or something like that, then that might be helpful to him. All right, you guys. Well, I guess we'll sign off. I have a thing about essential oils internally or in the mouth. Yeah, just with essential oils taken internally or in the mouth, you do have to be careful. But if you're using a low dilution and you are, using them responsibly, it's okay. It's not; those aren't going to hurt. You don't want to use like a massive 5% dilution in your tooth powder, but maybe a 0.5% or a 1%, something very, very low can be really helpful. And something that an essential oil that's often used as food flavorings, like peppermint essential oil, it's all over the food industry. You could get away with using that very safely. And also like essential oils that are, other food type essential oils like fennel or sage. If you wanted to try sage essential oil. I am totally joking. But you know what I mean. But those can be helpful. Maybe a little rosemary, but not the hot oils. You don't want the super hot ones in there. And if he's 16 years old, he's like adult sized, he can handle it. I don't know why it just screams no when I think about it. Well, I'm really glad about that, because using essential oils internally is dangerous in general. You really need to know what you're doing with it. But if you're using a very small amount in a tooth powder that's not being swallowed, you're fine. Okay. And it's a very small amount of the peppermint won't burn his the membranes of his mouth at all. Now, taking it internally is another matter. What drives me the most crazy is when I hear people saying to drop them in water and drink them because they're not diluted in anything. And oil and water, essential oil and water do not mix. Even though essential oils are not lipid oils, they are volatile oils. There's a big difference. They still do not mix with water. And what happens is those essential oils come directly in contact with the mucous membranes of the entire GI tract as they pass through. So that's where that gets very dangerous. I never recommend internal use that way. And then using essential oils in capsules with oil, like an olive oil, if you know what you're doing, that's actually, not terribly unsafe, but you don't need very much. Like essential oils are so powerful. And I hear these distributors say, oh yeah, I drink 1 or 2 drops of this or that oil in my water 2 or 3 times a day. And it just like makes me crazy because they're going to end up with problems eventually down the road. And, yeah, anyway. And using essential oils neat. And I know we're like beating a dead horse here, but yeah, it's you don't want to use essential oils directly on your skin unless there's a reason for it. Sometimes there is, sometimes that's indicated. This morning in Ditch the Drugstore, we were talking about toenail fungus, and using a tea tree essential oil directly on the toenail that's affected is fine. That's not going to be a bad thing to do. But if you are, dabbing it all over your skin, that can cause contact dermatitis over time and sensitive skin. So you can really cause some problems with that. So just, be aware of those things. Okay. All right, you guys, I guess we'll head out for the evening, and you guys have a really good week, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.